Hello, and welcome in to today's reading. At the time that I'm filming this, I don't know the title yet, but it has something to do with releasing control, or letting go of control, or maybe you're putting too much control on something. I don't know yet, but as usual, these are the three piles. Pile number 1 with the labradorite piece. Number 2 is this pendulum. And as usual, you can skip down to the timestamps that should be posted down below in the comments or in the description. And number 3 is lapis lazuli. So yeah, this really has to do with letting go of control, or maybe you're the ease up on something. It has to do with things you can't control, or maybe you're putting too much effort into something. But hopefully, when you get into the reading, or when I get into the reading, it'll make a lot more sense. So feel free to choose any of the piles. You can skip down to timestamps, but I will be cleansing the area first. Or for any of you that want a little bit more visual ASMR triggers. So I'm gonna cleanse the area, cleanse the space. Okay, I'm gonna start on pile number 1 in just a few moments. Alright, pile number 1, for those of you guys who chose labradorite, it's worth I'm recording this, so if I stutter or say any too many you're just gonna have to deal with that because I don't feel like recording this again. Alright, we'll start off with the wood board in reverse. Not the wood board, but with the 3 of arrows, deal this card in reverse. So sometimes I read this card as a lack of passion, especially when it's in reverse. I feel like some of you are in this frantic energy, or you're doing too many things, or you're just kind of doing things that you're not really thinking about, and you feel like you have to do these things. I only feel like some of you are in this frantic energy, but for most of you, it feels like you're not really using your energy in a productive way, or you're not really working. You're working smarter. You're working harder instead of smarter. Because we have it's loving for me to say no to things that don't resonate. So I feel like some of you are doing things because you feel like you have to do things, or other people are telling you to do things. For example, maybe you're on a specific path, or you want a specific goal. People are saying you should do things a certain way. And there are things that do have a specific setup. For example, things that require degrees or college. I have that. But I'm talking about doing things 100%, or I'm talking about following exactly what other people do, even if there's like a setup for it. And because of that unproductive energy, or working harder instead of smarter, or kind of following what others are doing, there's also that lack of empowerment, or that lack of control in your own life. And then we have 18, the moon of water. So if it's in my readings before, sometimes I say that eggs are porous and they can drown in water, technically embryo, but because of the energy that you're giving out, where it feels like you're putting in all this energy but you're not really receiving that much, or you're not really progressing that much, and that's lack of some empowerment. Feels like your passions are kind of being suppressed, but it may not be the passion that's suppressed. It could just be what you're doing is making you kind of question whether or not you should do this, but it could just be that you're draining your energy. So read. For some of you, this could be about downtime, but this is more about work smarter instead of harder. Like I said earlier, taking the time to research instead of just following what others are doing, or just following what others says you should do, others say you should do. So before you give up on what you want to do, kind of question whether or not what you're doing is right for you, or if this is the path you should take. Maybe in order to get where you want, maybe there's a detour, maybe there's another route. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't take advice from other people, but it is saying that when someone gives you advice, don't just follow it blindly. At least question it and see if it's right for you. Alright, pile number 1. Gonna move on to pile number 2. Alright, pile number 2. For this week, I also chose the lapis lazuli. So I kind of did pile number 2 a little bit earlier, but I messed up the recording. But I did say that pile number 2 did feel a little bit similar to pile number 1, so pile number 1 may also resonate with you. We start off with the King of Bows, Adder in reverse. Like I said about pile number 1, it feels like some of you are doing things just because you feel like you have to do things. And that's what I'm getting from this card as well. Sometimes I see the current as a snake here, and everyone else, or what they're facing, as other snakes here. It doesn't have to be people. It could just be like a position or a job that you're afraid to let go of. For example, maybe you're afraid to quit your job because you're afraid you're not going to get anything better, or maybe you may not find a job, especially in this climate, but there are essential jobs out there. I'm still working. I mean, not just this, but I do have a part-time job. And because this is in reverse, this is saying I feel like it's encouraging you to let go of whatever it is that you're afraid to let go of. I feel like this is about holding on to something, because we have, I acknowledge my fears and allow it to flow through me. Fear might have a lesson for me, but love is what drives me. So this is about the lack mentality, holding on to things because you feel like it will be taken away from you. But as this suggests, that holding on to this is, by holding on to this, you're not really doing yourself any favors. You're just holding on to something that could be better, or you're holding on to something where you could have something better. The Queen of Arrows is you finally leaving that, kind of going with the flow. The Swan card, I usually see the Swan card, or the Swan, as someone who doesn't really care. I wouldn't say they don't care because of apathy, but it's more like they're more confident in the journey, or they're not really worried about the journey. They know that they have their goals set and whatever happens, happens. It's about being free, and this can lead to the healing card or healing. So I feel like by letting go of what you think you should control and just letting things flow to you, then it's gonna be a lot more easier for you to receive things. I might check about when I'm in true alignment. Again, with this one card, kind of just going with the flow. And I don't mean going with the flow as in just, you're just doing things willy-nilly. You still have that goal, you still have your action steps, but you're not holding on to things as tightly. And lastly, we have aromatherapy. This could be literal, this could be something you could set up as a meditation, but I feel like it's more about letting your mind wander, letting go, being at peace with where you are, with what you have, not stressing out too much. Alright, so that was part number 2. And I forgot to say this for part number 1, but as usual, my Etsy and my Instagram down below for personal and other readings that I do related to tarot. And also I do my tarot updates on my Instagram for when I post. So we're going to move on to pile number 3. Pile number 3, for those of you guys who chose the pendulum. So I feel like all 3 of these piles are pretty similar, so it is possible that some of you could have chosen all 3. Starting off with the rest card here. This could be about exhaustion, overworking, or having to take a rest, but I also feel like it pairs up with I'm embracing a paradigm shift, where I kind of see this as your old beliefs and the butterfly as your new beliefs, as you kind of, I guess, realizing that you don't have to be pinned down here. But if you look closer, you can see that the arrows aren't actually touching the person. So it's more like you feel like you're being pinned down, you feel like you have to be in the state, you feel like you can't do anything about it. But the truth is that you can shift your energy, you can shift your mindset, and you can become, I guess, more free from this. And the clarification I put earlier was the celebration card. So this was about letting go, celebrating, of course, having fun, and not being so tied down to things. Not limiting yourself. And that kind of leads into the struggle card in reverse. So by learning to let go, by learning that you're not being held down, by knowing that you can change, you can shift, then it's going to be a little bit easier for you on this journey or wherever you're going. And because it might be a little bit easier for you, you might be a little bit more ambitious, a little bit more daring, or more motivated to reach this goal, which I also see as the campfire there, whatever that flame is, or that fire coming up there. I feel like it especially relates to pile number 2, because I also talked about letting go and letting go of limiting beliefs. And with sound healing, this could be about meditation, but I also feel like it's about just letting go and just kind of going with the flow. Of course, action steps are still important, but as I said in part number 2, or number 1 if you've seen those, is that you don't have to follow things exactly how people say you should do. Especially if you don't know why you're doing the things that you're doing. The hooded man in reverse. I see this as someone who... Okay, so upright, I see this as someone as a cloak figure looking at this bird in there. But in reverse, it's almost like it's saying that you don't have to hold on to whatever this is. You don't have to focus on whatever this is. There are possibly other things that you could do. So how that releases sound healing is you're also trying out things that work for you. So you can see that there are different sound bowls, and presumably they might sound different from each other. So I also see this person as someone who's just testing out the different bowls to see which one they like, instead of clinging to one sound or one bowl or one idea. And of course that goes back to embracing a paradigm shift. And I did mention this in my last video, but if you haven't seen that, I mentioned a channel. Her name is Trees Pruitt, and she talks about paradigm shifts or quantum shifting, which I will link down below because I find that very helpful. I can link down one of her meditations for quantum shifting, and it's basically you taking an old belief. For example, let's say you have a belief that you're not good enough, or you are lazy, or you're not productive. You take that belief and you kind of shift it into something different. But she goes into more details, and I can link her down below for her to explain it. So that was part number 3. Hopefully I wasn't rambling on too much, but overall, embrace that paradigm shift. Shift your negative or limiting beliefs. Don't feel like you're being pinned down by your old beliefs, because this person, it's almost like they're in this self-defeatist mode, but if you look closer, the arrows aren't actually touching them. They could easily get up, and the butterfly is them transforming into a new person, or transforming their beliefs. So that was the end of the reading. As usual, I have my Etsy down below for personal readings, and my Instagram for other readings that I do, and for tarot updates where I post about what I'm going to post for future readings. And I'll see you next week or tomorrow on my Instagram.